So my 3080 just arrived. Like most of you guys, I have had very hard time getting hold of one of these. And yeah, sites crashing and stock not being updated. And yeah, I ordered both the top series and also the ROG STRIX. I actually ordered this one last, but I was very lucky to get one here. Arrived 23rd of December, so I've had it a few days. So let's just unbox it, have a closer look, and run some benchmark and some gaming. This is the card I really wanted, even though the top series is also very attractive and seemed to be a fantastic value card. Like I said, I've ordered those as well. I actually ordered the top series first, but the ROG STRIX, I don't think as many people have ordered those. So yeah, I was lucky to get one. Initially, I wanted the MSI Ventures series because it didn't have any RGB and also was fairly inexpensive. But I think I really dodged a bullet on that one because it seemed to be an awful card. And yeah, the seller where I bought it from, even though it should be in stock, could never really deliver. So I ended up canceling that order. And now I have the ROG STRIX, which is the one I really wanted. I really like the look and I really like the ROG STRIX cooling design. And I have the ROG STRIX 2080 Super that I am replacing with this one here. And yeah, it kind of feels like a downgrade to go to the top series, even though it is a fantastic series this year. At least what I can read and all the reviews I've seen seem to be very happy with that card. But yeah, of course, look around the box here. You can almost smell the ink. It is, or feels like it's straight out of the printer. I don't think these cards will have any shelf time coming from the factory. They will just go straight to the sellers because they are just so demanding, or there is so high demand for them and so low stock right now. But yeah, I hope everybody will get their card soon, and definitely this one is one of the greater ones in my opinion, and I highly recommend it. But yeah, let's just have a look around the box here. Of course, big power delivery system, can deliver up to 450 watts, and of course you have a 3-year limited warranty, which is pretty decent for a card of this class and price range. So let's just get into it and actually have a closer look at what you get in the box, and of course the card itself. And the box was almost glued to the inside because, like I said, the print feels very fresh. So it probably was a little wet when they put it inside the box. But yeah, you can see it well protected here. Inside the lid as well is some protection, and of course the card here is well protected with all this foam all the way around here and in some anti-static bag. It is a very big card, it's my first impression here, but man, it just feels like high quality, well put together. But yeah, let's have a look at what we get in the box. One very weird thing I've seen with this card here is this little ruler. Not really sure what Asus is thinking with this one, but yeah, I'm not really sure what to use this for. You can of course put it in your keychain and carry it around, but it's kind of too big for that in my opinion. So yeah, put it back in the box. You do get some zip ties, which is always nice to have, and of course ROG STRIX branded there, Game of the Republic. Very nice. And you also get a little box here with some extra content. First thing, I don't really know what is. It is this little aluminium plate, kind of like a triangle here. Maybe it's for some motherboards or other ROG equipment. Let me know down in the comments if you know what this is. There is no detail of it in the instructions or anything. But yeah, this one is included. You also get a little card here to just tell you that you have selected a great card. Okay, thank you very much. And of course, also thank you to Asus. Keep making great products and I will keep buying them. Just a little card here saying thank you. Speed setup, I think it's just the standard speed setup manual, your quick start guide rather, you get with all of the Asus graphics cards. There's no specific to this card here, even though it has 3 8-pin connectors. Would it be nice to have some kind of information of, if you can daisy chain one of the cables or whatever. But it's just a more general setup, of course, how to plug in the graphics card and screw it in and plug in your monitor. Even have a DVI connection plug there in the graph on the manual. So yeah, a little outdated, but yeah, let's have a look at the card itself. Of course, comes in this anti-static bag. It is a rather thick card, 2.9 slots. So yeah, it is a 3-slot card, and it has these 3 big fans. One of them spins the opposite direction. The middle one also have some more fins than the 2 outer one. And yeah, Sapphire have done this for a long time with the Nitro Plus cards. So, and I always have been very happy of that setup there. But you have pretty big fans. They are, I believe, 9.2 millimeters. Oh, yeah, just around there. And they are updated compared to the older ROG STRIX 20 series. And yeah, you have all of these accents around the fans. Of course, the shroud itself is plastic, but all the silver parts is actually made of metal. And you have this little RGB light band there. I really like the subtle light band because I'm just going to turn it off. But it doesn't really scream in your eyes that there is actually lighting in there. And of course, backplate is all aluminium. And yeah, all of those mini caps there is the smaller variant, which is very important, I think, for a lot of people. But definitely it screams a little bit of higher quality than the bigger ones. And of course, you have a dual BIOS mode. So I will keep mine in the quiet BIOS because I prefer silence over performance. But the only difference between the two is the fan profile, and the silent BIOS boosts just fine in my setup. And of course, remove the plastic there, and everything is aluminium on the back, as well as you have the fan headers that you also had with other ROG STRIX cards in the past, to be exact. Also, those two screw holes there that I've seen with pretty much all 3080 cards. Anybody knows what that is for? Please comment down below. And of course, a little ROG branding there on the end as well. I really, really like the aesthetics of this card. Not too keen on the silver essence of the card, but man, it just built like a tank. You have this metal bracket going all the way along the card here to prevent anti-sag. And yeah, it definitely does not sag in my system, at least. Maybe it will do a little bit in time. But that metal bracket definitely will hold the card up straight for longer than other cards I've seen. And of course, 3x8 pins there, or 3x8 power plugs. And of course, it is nicely recessed as well, so your cable won't stick out as much. On the connection front here, on the connection back, you get 3 display and 2 HDMI. You cannot use all of them at the same time. You can have 4 displays at the time. So either 2 HDMI, 2 display, or 3 display and 1 HDMI. But yeah, stainless steel here as well on the back, and should be a little more sturdier than previous generations. And of course, PCI Express 4.0 or Generation 4, still 16 times or in terms of the size and the speed of the slot, of course. And let's just peel off all the plastic. There are quite a lot of plastic on this card here. And there's also plastic on all of the silver metal parts there, which is kind of annoying to peel off. And you can actually barely see the ROG STRIX branding on those silver accents on the front, and also on the back. You can see it is very subtle, some Republic of Gaming brand on there. So yeah, I really like the aesthetic. Like I said, not too keen on the silver. I wish they had made that gunmetal or something like that. But that's my personal preference. It's definitely very high quality looking and feeling, and it does feel like it is a brand new card compared to like the older 2080 Super that you can see here in the bottom. It is definitely a big card. It is both longer, thicker, and taller by quite a bit, and of course also heavier. So definitely make sure you have room inside your case before you go and invest in this ROG STRIX here. It does take up quite some space inside your case, so you need I think at least a MIDI tower. Maybe you can squeeze it into a mini ITX or micro ATX, but it definitely needs some, both in terms of length and height, and also it needs the 3 slots. You can see the fans here on my old 2080 Super ROG STRIX is smaller than the newer ones. So the newer ones is, I believe, above 90 millimeters, 95 maybe. And you can see here the older one is smaller, and all the fans are turning in the same direction with the old one, whereas the middle one on the new one, of course, turn the opposite direction and have some more fan blades. And in terms of top here, you can see definitely thicker. I really like the design of the 3080 a bit more than the 2080, because it is much more boxy design. Doesn't have those triangle-ish look. And of course, you have 2 connectors there on the 2080 Super versus the 3 on the 3080. But yeah, both cards feel high quality, but the 3080 I think feels a little bit higher quality in construction. And of course, you have pretty much the same plug layout. You have, of course, USB Type-C on the 2080 Super but you can just convert that to a DisplayPort or an HDMI as well, I believe. And of course, on the bottom side here, not really much to see, but it is very nice to actually get rid of that ugly multicolored plug or cable on the 2080 Super, which is fortunately just black on the 3080. And of course, you also lose that mechanical or physical LED button on the 2080 Super, but for me it didn't really work. It always just turned back on the RGB. But yeah, those ugly multicolored cables there on the backside of the 2080 Super is definitely an eyesore. But yeah, great cards, both of them, and the 3080 in my opinion definitely feels a bit higher quality, just in terms of the throughout and the overall build. But of course, in terms of weight, the 2080 Super here is about 1400 grams, and the 3080 here is about 1750 grams. So it is, 350 grams heavier for an already quite heavy card, and bigger, like said, in all other dimensions. But man, it just looks quite a bit more cleaner in design aesthetics, which is something I definitely do prefer compared to the 2080 Super, which is also a nice card, very classic design. So let's install it in the exact same case I had my 2080 Super. Just remove the little plastic bracket there from the PCI Express slot on the plug on the graphics card. Of course, just plug it into the PCI Express slot there. This is installed in a MSI Unify motherboard in a Fantex P600S case. So pretty much the same layout as the Evolve X, but it just have those metal sides with a noise dampening material. So I don't really have any glass in this one. I do prefer silent operation for my main setup, but I do have an Evolve X that my 2080 Super is going into. So yeah, this is pretty much the install. One of the cables is daisy chained, but that should be fine according to Asus. So 2 cables going straight from the power supply and 1 is daisy chained from the other cable. So yeah, this is the installment. It is definitely totally straight in my eyes. No sag or anything, which is excellent for a graphics card of this nature. I don't believe it will ever sag because, like I said, it has that metal band going all the way around, which will definitely prevent a lot of sagging. Maybe just a little bit with time, but this is definitely very acceptable. And also use the little anti-sag bracket that Evolve X or the Evolve series of cases has. And actually I've switched out the cable, so the daisy chain one is all the way to the right now, and the 2 main cables is on the left side. So this is the way Asus recommend you install this card. And of course, let's just have a look at the RGB lighting before I actually end up turning it off. It looks very classy in my opinion and very nice. This is of course a card you should only mount in a case like this, because there is really no riser cable that can take advantage of PCI Express Generation 4. So yeah, this looks kind of nice. And I am running the latest driver as of this video, the version 460.89, which was published on the 15th of December. So let's get into some benchmark and some gaming as well, but definitely a lot of other YouTubers that does a better job than me in terms of testing, benchmarking several games, so go check one of those out instead. I'll just get through some benchmark here. First off, TimeSpy, of course, a classic benchmark, and you can see here the 2080 Super result, getting 11,767. Keep in mind, it is in exactly the same system, exactly the same fan profile throughout the system. The only difference or variable is the graphics card itself. And you can see here, it is quite a decent score for a 2080 Super in my opinion. And of course, let's have a look at the 3080 result. Just one note, both cards are set to their silent profile. I've done nothing overclocking or anything other than the factory overclock. Both of them are OC variant of the ROG STRIX, and you can see here I'm getting 16,508. I did do a clean install of the driver when I installed the 3080, but I didn't do a complete uninstall with display driver uninstaller or something like that. Just doing a clean install should be decent or good enough. But you can see definitely quite a bit better result with the 3080. And of course, 2080 Super here with the TimeSpy Extreme, which is something I think the 3080 will do quite a bit better in, because yeah, it is better for those extreme scenarios, but you can see 5,544 points, which again is pretty decent of a 2080 Super. But I am getting quite a bit higher score here with the 3080 as expected. You can see here 8,404, which is an excellent score as well. Actually thought I would get a little higher, but it is definitely pretty decent. And also with the 3900X CPU, probably will get a little higher if I sometimes in the future will upgrade to the 5000 series of Ryzen CPUs. And of course, let's get into some ray tracing benchmark here. Port Royal. Don't really care too much about ray tracing, but for you guys out there who are interested in that kind of thing, of course, the 3080 is quite a bit faster. So I'm getting 7,021 with my 2080 Super and 11,216 with the RTX 3080, which is quite a big jump. This is probably the card, or the first card, I would actually consider in some games to turn on ray tracing. And yeah, this is definitely a big step in the right direction. DLSS is definitely the technology I think is much more important, but those two things combined, ray tracing and DLSS, seem to do quite a well job. But of course, this is without any DLSS. This is just raw ray tracing performance. Of course, Unique Heaven benchmark, I'm getting 86.8 frames per second on my 2080 Super with this specific settings here. Quality set to high, tessellation set to extreme, and on 1440p. And all of the testing I've done is on a 1440p monitor with 8 times anti-aliasing. And yeah, you can see here just shy of 87 frames per second. And man, what a big improvement with the 3080. 148 frames, of course, exactly the same settings. So high quality, tessellation extreme, and anti-aliasing is set to 8 times, and of course on a 1440p monitor. So yeah, definitely a bit more powerful graphics card, this 3080 here, and it is definitely noticeable in games in my opinion. Geekbench score here, this is Geekbench 5. For some reason I couldn't run the CUDA benchmark. Tried it both on my 2080 Super and my 3080. Not sure what the problem was, but it just crashed every time I tried. So yeah, let's have a look first here on the OpenCL score. I'm getting 118,664 on the 2080 Super. And on the 3080, big surprise, the number is higher. So 190,423 in the OpenCL score, which is quite a bit higher than the 2080 Super. On the Vulkan score here, I'm getting 105,929 score in Geekbench 5 here on the 2080 Super. And not as an impressive advantage to the 3080 here of only in abstracts 111,395 Vulkan score, which is pretty okay, I would say here, yeah. But definitely could be improved, hopefully in driver updates. In terms of actual gameplay, with the 3080, I definitely noticed the higher frame rate. I'm getting around 30 to 40 frames more in Call of Duty Modern Warzone, or Modern Warfare, excuse me. So yeah, definitely quite a bit better frame rate, and I think it is actually noticeable. I have a 164 Hz monitor, so my dream was to get as close to that as possible with high-ish settings, and I'm definitely getting around those frame rates. Of course, you cannot really use the 1% lower and as such in this specific benchmark because I'm playing online, and yeah, online gaming just every time I respawn it will just crush those frames. But the frame rate is a little unstable here. I actually ended up completely uninstalling the driver with Display Driver Uninstaller, and I think it actually fixed it a little bit. So if you're having a little unstable frame rate, go Google Display Driver Uninstaller, DDU, and just uninstall the drivers, reboot, and install them again. Did help out a bit, but yeah, definitely get quite a bit higher frame rate here. And for Battlefield 5, I wasn't really that impressed by the frame rate at first. This is on high settings. Should be getting more, and I am definitely getting more after I completely uninstalled the driver with the display driver uninstaller. So if you're not getting satisfied with your frame rate, definitely go and uninstall with display driver uninstaller. But this is just my first gameplay, installing the card and just reinstalling the driver, just doing a clean install with the driver itself. You can, of course, just go into advanced install and just select clean install. But yeah, definitely get a higher frame rate than my 2080 Super. I was getting around maybe 110 to 120 frames per second on average with my 2080 Super, but this one is a bit higher. But definitely should be better. But I know Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Battlefield 5 is probably the two titles where the 3080 actually doesn't really perform that well. They are really optimized for AMD, and actually the 5700 XT did almost as good in Call of Duty Modern Warfare compared to the 3080, maybe within a 10, 15 to 20-ish frames per second. But yeah, definitely higher frame rate settings or higher frame rate gameplay is so much better and just makes the game run so much smoother. And I'm getting closer to the 164 frames per second with high settings in both Call of Duty Modern Warfare and also in Battlefield here, even though I'm still a pretty bad gamer. But if you want to see more detailed benchmarks for each specific games, go watch Hardware Unboxed, Gamers Nexus, Jay's 2 Cent, and yeah, there are plenty more great, fantastic YouTubers out there that are doing a fantastic hard work at actually benchmarking each game and comparing it between the different graphics cards and CPUs, which is a very demanding thing to do. So definitely go and support those channels and watch those videos. But in terms of gaming, you're definitely getting a lot more frames per second with the 3080. In terms of power consumption, you can see here GPU clocks runs around at least 1905 megahertz to around 1950, 1980 megahertz. And you can see the power consumption here. It's pretty steep, around 380 watts when gaming, and of course the GPU is 100% utilized. And comparing to my 2080 Super, which ran at around 2000 gigahertz, or 2 gigahertz, 2000 megahertz, and a little above that, and the fans actually ran a little quieter or a little lower RPM, actually getting around or using around 260 watts, so it is a little more efficient. The 2080 Super, or at least used a little less power, but of course doesn't deliver as high graphical performance. In terms of idle power with the 3080, you can see it only runs at around 200 megahertz and 50 megahertz on the memory clock. And of course the fans does stay idle most of the time. They do spin up occasionally, just browsing or walking around in Windows and browsing the web and such. But for the most part, it's completely silent. And you can see the power draw on idle with two 140 Hz monitor set to 60 frames per second. I'm getting around 45 wattage of use. If I set my monitor to the native frames or hertz, 164 hertz, the memory clock just goes skyrocket to around the 1187, close to 1200 megahertz, and the fan will spin much more frequently, as well as the power draw will more than double compared to just running the monitors in 60 hertz. So yeah, definitely fiddle around with the settings a little bit, depending on what kind of monitors, if you have dual monitors and such. There are also a new BIOS out as of the 14th of December, version 2, which should improve the 0 dB fan feature and also fix some beeping during a computer startup, which I've not really had any issues with. So yeah, of course, went ahead and installed that one. You get a little message here that the screen will flicker a few times, and then of course the BIOS will update and the screen will flicker a few times, and after so you will be prompted to just restart your system. And before I update it, you can see the BIOS version here, and this is the after BIOS version, but the fan, like I said, still spins up in idle no matter what I do. So here I'm measuring the noise floor coming straight out of the computer with the 2080 Super under fully load. So just take a listen here. So around 37 dBA with the 2080 Super, measuring at exactly the same spot with the 3080 under the same condition and the same load, exactly the same profile. Of course, this is all my fans inside my computer. Just take a listen. So maybe 1 to 2 dB louder-ish, but into my ears, they sound exactly the same. So very, very silent operation on both of the GPUs. So that aspect I am very happy with. I hate fan noise and especially miss noise. And yeah, this GPU here is just very silent, of course, using the silent bias. But I think the performance bias is actually pretty close, at least in what I can see online. They are neck to neck almost. So just to sum up, highly recommend this card. Fantastic construction in terms of build quality, fantastic cooling performance, very silent operation. It is very big and a heavy card, so just make sure you have room in your case. And of course, the price is a little bit higher than all of the other cards, but right now it actually isn't that much higher compared to like top series and other cards from Asus. So yeah, definitely highly recommended if you want some of the best 3080. But there are soon to come out the 20 gigabyte variant, probably sometime next year. I think we will see that at the same price, or around the same price as the 2080 Ti. So if you are a little bit concerned about the 10 gigabyte of video memory, maybe hold up a little bit more. And of course, if you are willing to pay a little bit of premium for more video memory, should come out in the new year 2021 with 20 gigabytes of variant. I actually found it on Asus website, shared it on Reddit, and I can see a lot of other people have shared it and also taken credit for it. But in terms of right now, if you just want the best value in abstract card, you know, there's a 6800 XT out there, but actually costs quite a bit in my country, at least here in Scandinavia. The top 6800 XT costs roughly the same as this ROG STRIX 2080 or 3080. So yeah, I think this is actually the better value. Only really the video memory is of a concern, but if it will ever be an issue, you can just turn down the details of the texture just a little bit, and it shouldn't really be a problem for the next foreseeable future, 2-3 years. I think the card will do quite well. But right now, you cannot really go out and buy this card, which kind of sucks. And if I can find some links, I will of course share some affiliated links down below if you want to check it out. But as of right now, a lot of websites have actually removed them from their listings because they are just so hard to get a hold of this day and age. So yeah, definitely my feelings to all of you who are waiting for your card, and especially for all of you who have already sold out your old cards. I saw a lot of panic sales of 2080 Ti's when these cards were announced. I have a lot of feelings for those who actually sold those for a very low price. The 2080 Ti actually still is quite a good card, I think. So yeah, highly recommended. If you can find one, go and get it. If you want some of the best, definitely get this one. If you want a little better value, go and get the TUF one, which is a fantastic cooler on there as well. But the TUF card is probably the most popular one, so I think it will also be the one that is hardest to get because most people actually pre-ordered that one. So yeah, if you want to get a little bit better chance of getting a card, maybe order a Strix, which is, of course, a little higher in price. But that's pretty much it for this video. I hope to see you again in a future one. Until then, take care.